What I want to start with is to clarify one element. It's basically the competency of the European Union when it comes to music. And this competency is what we call a supporting competency. What does it mean? It simply means that the European Union does not have the power to legislate in the field of music. It is up to the member states to do that. So we are left with three opportunities to act: policy cooperation with the member states, funding programs, and to foster a favorable regulatory environment. So my presentation today, this morning, will revolve around those three elements: the policy framework, the programmatic framework, and the regulatory framework. Starting with the policy framework, maybe I should start with a quick crash course on EU policymaking. We have three institutions that matter when it comes to EU decision-making processes: the Commission, the Parliament, and the Council. And all three institutions are involved in one way or another in EU decision-making processes. Now, the first element that I want to highlight when it comes to policy framework, it's what we call the EU Framework for Culture 2023-2026. It's a document that was adopted by the Council, so by the member states, to provide guidelines to the Commission to guide our action, our policymaking in the area of culture, broadly speaking, but also in music. So selected priorities that might matter to you: digital transformation of CCS, cultural and creative sectors, the discoverability of European cultural content in the digital environment, and also the status and working conditions of artists, which obviously is impacted by innovation and digital. The second element is a package of reports that are currently being drafted by the European Parliament. One is called the EU Framework for the Social and Professional Situation of Artists, and the second one is Conditions of Authors in the Music Streaming Market. So those are still in the pipeline, and they will provide policy elements that will inform decision-making processes at the level of the European Commission. I want to finish by just highlighting very quickly our flagship program, which is called Music Moves Europe. I'm part of the Music Moves Europe team in the European Commission. It is a program that is started as a preparatory action, an initiative funded by the European Parliament that really paved the way for the programmatic approach. It was basically a 7 million preparatory action that allowed us to launch cool, fun programs and also fun studies. So this was really the initial steps, and now it has been fully included in our programmatic approach. But before diving in the programmatic approach, I just want to mention one new player in the field, which is the Culture and Creativity KIC. I'm sorry, it's full of acronym and abbreviation. We like to do things a bit complicated in the Commission. KIC stands for Knowledge and Innovation Community. It's basically a private-public partnership between universities, companies, and public actors that attempts to foster the creation of innovative products, to train entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. So this one will be dedicated to culture and music. It will be fully operational as of January next year with several priorities that you can see on the screen. So I would really encourage you to be on the lookout and find out business opportunities with this new actor, because there will be funding opportunities here. Now, the programmatic framework, and I apologize in advance, it's a bit of a monster table. What I want you to keep in mind with that table is that things are a bit complicated. It's a bit complicated because we have sort of a fragmented approach within the European Commission. The department I work in, so Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, is responsible for music. And there is another department, a separate one, which is responsible for innovation, and that is the Department for Research and Development. So you can see on the table two different strands, two funding programs: Creative Europe, which is my program, under which we fund Music Moves Europe, the flagship program for music. But when it comes to innovation, research, digital, and so on, it's really funded under Horizon Europe, which is the other funding programs for which the Department for Research and Innovation is responsible. You have different implementing agencies. Obviously, it's not the Commission that is launching all the calls, the tenders. We have executive agencies, we call them, that do that on our behalf. Different objectives that interlink. You can see on the screen there is a strong mention of digital innovation, the green transition as well. And what I want to focus maybe a bit more here because that's my team, the Creative Europe and the Music Moves Europe priority, as you can see, it's on the bottom left-hand corner, promotion of diversity, competitiveness, and innovation. And we have 4 policy means to do that. Policy dialogue, the legal environment, again, funding, and dialogue with the music sector. So dialogue with the music sector, it's a new call that we launched, and we are hosting dialogues with key music stakeholders in major music festivals like Reeperbahn or Eurosonic. So just to underline the key competencies and the 2 differences between those departments. Obviously, we have different budget lines as well, otherwise it would be too simple. 2 projects to illustrate what I just demonstrated here. First project is called BELEM. BELEM stands for Boosting European Lyrics via Entrepreneurial Monetization. So you can see this one is funded by Creative Europe, which is my funding stream. And this one really attempts to foster the translation of lyrics within the European Union to boost the exportability of European music within the EU, but across the world, broadly speaking, and also to increase language diversity, which is a key objective for the European Commission and the EU writ large. Second project, it's called Music 360. As you can see, this one is funded under Horizon Europe, which is the other funding program. And this one is more of a data-oriented project. It basically tries to evaluate the meaning of music, the value of music, and more specifically background music, so music that is played in shops, in different venues, and to try and understand how this music impacts on consumer practices. And the goal here is really to come up with new business opportunities for creators based on this renewed understanding. So 2 different projects. Obviously, we fund a lot more, but I just wanted to showcase those 2 ones because I think they are quite telling about what we're doing at the European Commission level. The regulatory framework, 3 elements. The first one is called the Digital Single Market Copyright Directive. So with this one, with this document that was adopted in 2019, we want to address what we call the digital value gap, which is basically the discrepancy in remuneration when creations are being used in video streaming services as compared to music streaming services. And the key notion here, obviously, is that of copyright. It is the first time with this directive that a notion is introduced in EU law, and that is the notion of appropriate and proportionate remuneration of individual creators. The second element, when it comes to regulatory framework, it's actually a package. It's the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. Both texts were adopted last year, and they try to provide harmonized rules to fight against illegal content online, illegal practices online, so for instance, the resale of tickets, the illegal resale of tickets, or content, copyright infringing content. But above all, and this is what I want to keep, what I want you to keep in mind with this package here, it provides ex-ante rules to ensure fair competition. It's really a key innovation at the EU level when it comes to regulation, because it will try to ensure fair competition, so the so-called gatekeepers are not in a position to prevent the emergence of new actors in the market, so to prevent innovation in the field. That was the second element. Third element, I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with it. It's called the RAP case. So it was a ruling from the European Court of Justice that basically ensures international reciprocity for the remuneration of recorded music within the European Union. So there was a ruling. Now the Commission is trying to come up with practical cases, how we could apply this ruling in normal life, and this is still under discussion. So that was the regulatory framework in a nutshell. And I'm nearing the end of the presentation. I just want to stress maybe 2 key takeaways for you. The first, and this is really what I try to illustrate throughout the presentation, in spite of our lack of competence in the culture and music sphere, there is definitely an EU policy and legal reach. So even though we are not entrusted with legislative power, because of all the neighboring policies and all the neighboring legislations, we do have policies and laws that impact the music sectors and the music stakeholders. So that's one key element. The second one, mostly for you, there are a lot of funding opportunities, so just go out there, grab them, go on the website, check out the programs, the calls. I think it would definitely be a win-win situation because I come from the European Commission. We are a large public institution. It takes a lot of time for us to move, to decide things. I believe you guys are mostly working in smaller organizations, more agile, more innovative, definitely. So I think we need each other, and we definitely need you to help us further support innovation and entrepreneurship in the music sector. And with this, I will still leave you with that. I'm sorry I cannot stay too long today because I need to go back to Brussels. I would have loved to stay with you guys and see Kendrick Lamar tonight. But feel free to drop me a message. I don't know where Jerome is, but you can ask him my contact details, and I will be happy to respond. Thanks a lot.